Hello everybody, hope you're doing okay. Welcome to Laleham, which is a nice flat area hopefully. So today I've got a session of 12x400 with 6 minutes threshold beforehand. So a good opportunity I thought to try out the Puma Fast-R Nitro Elite 3 versus the Streakfly 2. Possibly the two fastest shoes that I feel like I've got of recently. Done some good runs in the Fast-R 3 and I did a good mile in the Bolton Mile. So yeah, definitely an interesting one. John Broom asked which is the best shoe for 5k, so we'll see. I'm going to start off in the Puma, I think, do the 6 minutes, do a few 400s and switch over to the Streakfly, and if I get really keen I might switch back to the Fast-Rs, but we'll see how we go. Bit short of time as ever, so let's crack on. So one for Robin, emerging out of a tunnel here. Where is everybody? Right, some strides to do first of all before we get onto it. Got 3 minutes left, so I get about 2 strides in. Got Chertsey Bridge here looking rather splendid, isn't it? So I'm going to run back to Laleham from Chertsey, just over a mile. So I won't quite make the mile in 6 minutes, won't I? But yeah, looking for about 6:30 pace for this. Just get myself warmed up. Very impressive 14:46 Matt did in the Mid-Cheshire 5k. And not to be outdone, Andy Rayner did a massive PB as well, 15:44 I think it was in the race at Cardiff. So yeah, I've got some work to do, my next 5k for sure, haven't I? Okay, a couple of quick strides done, and then we'll go into the 6 minute one. Don't know enjoy this one too much, it's just kind of almost like the extended warm up, but we'll do some more thoughts on the 12x400s. Okay, 6 minutes done. I was over with these Pumas, faster than I thought, about 6:10 pace. So I just ran it onto the mile. I think it was about 0.97 of a mile in the actual 6 minutes, and then I ran on for another 10-15 seconds so I can register an actual mile. So yeah, right, so now we're into the session proper, as it were. 12x400s. I forget what the rest is. I think it was 60 seconds, so we're going to have to improvise changing shoes on one of them. And yeah, so that was a good start for sure. The Pumas always feel not sort of the most comfortable of shoes, but it feels like you're really being bound along. A bit of a spring-back effect. I mean, when the carbon plates first came out, or the carbon-plated shoes rather, people sort of equated them to springs, and I think there is an element of that in these. Right, on to the next rep then, first 400. Wow, certainly getting a steam up with these 400s. Do feel a bit tired today, but as ever. But yeah, feeling good for sure. Okay, so I've done 5 in the Fast-Rs and I'm now into the Streakfly 2s. Instantly feel like a slightly shorter shoe in the Streakfly 2. I did wear, or go sockless in the Bolton Mile, didn't I? So I think, if anything, if I was actually racing these, I might consider even a 5k to race them in sockless, because I think they are designed a bit like a track bike. So just having that slightly less length than perhaps you're used to in a road shoe. Right, so I've done 5, got 7 more to go. So I'll try and do 5 in these, similar to what I did in the Fast-Rs. If I'm keen, I'll get back to the Fast-Rs for the end. There's a nice section up by the river. You can sort of go parallel on it, so that'd be a good one to actually do some testing head to head, as it were. But I'll do the first few like I did before. Okay, 2 down in the Streakfly 2s. I think the old lactic starting to bite as well now, because they do feel slightly less comfortable, slightly less cushioned, and slightly shorter. So whereas the Fast-R, you might argue, run ever so slightly long, these ones feel like they're running ever so slightly short. Right, I've got to get going on the next one then. Okay, session done. Last 2 in the Pumas, perhaps I'd tried a bit harder there. They do feel to me like they're actually the fastest shoe, but maybe it's they just feel a bit more shoe under you, just feel a bit more protective when you're getting tired. The Streakfly, amazing tool, but didn't really feel like I could take that out for too long. We'll go and check the splits. I think they'll be fairly similar, to be honest. But yeah, for a 5k, I think I'm definitely still leaning towards the Puma Fast-R Nitro Elite 3, to give it its full title. Right, a little warm down now before it gets completely dark. And we'll go inside, have a look at the spreadsheet and see what we see. Some people said, why don't you use power? Well, if you look around me here, I'm right by the River Thames. It's not too windy tonight. And basically I'm doing a speed session replicating what I would do on a track. So it's not like a bike power meter where it's really measuring the effort into the wind, on the road surface, different types of things like that. It's very contrived algorithms, and all the fans of Stride may think it's the best thing ever, and the Garmin one, but really, when I've done it with these ones, you know, you get more power when you go faster, and vice versa. So you're not really telling me anything. So just one less data metric to worry about. Comment down below if you think I'm wrong, and show me some examples where we run the same pace in different shoes and the power's the only differential. assuming you were going the right way in the wind and everything like that. Anyway, rambling off, let's get this warm down done. So here's the spreadsheet. Reminder of what I did. 12,400 split into 5 in the Fast-Rs, another 5 in the Streakfly 2s, and then I went back into the Fast-Rs at the end. And I have to admit that the last two probably were much more effort than the other 10. And then they started off with a 6-minute threshold in the Fast-R 3. In a way, I think I was most pleased with the 6-minute threshold there at 6:11 pace. So I did actually a 6:11 mile, which is about a 350 kilometer pace. So yeah, comfortably like 5k pace, even though it's meant to be threshold, and only averaging their 133 heart rate, admittedly largely from fresh. I think what I would say here, that there wasn't much in it between the Fast-R 3 and the Streakfly 2. I did the same course on these ones. So the first Fast-R 3 is the same as the first Streakfly 2, etc, etc, etc. So it was pretty much a flat course. There was a bit of wind. It was about 10 miles an hour. I think it was reasonably sheltered, so it didn't really affect me too much. But you can notice it hugely on the Garmin Power, which has the wind adjustment here. When I was actually into a headwind, notice how much higher these powers are. That's partly why I don't pay too much attention to powers on flat courses, because I didn't really feel that I was putting that much more work into this notional headwind, as it were. And some of it, to be fair, was a crosswind as well. But the Fast-R 3's got a very light shoe for a sort of a marathon racer type shoe, whereas the Streakfly 2, I'd say, is very much a short distance racer. And I kind of felt that on foot when I put them on. It's noticeably lighter, isn't it, by what, they're 60 grams, which didn't feel quite as much a difference as when I put them on. The Streakfly 2s are cushioned, but you noticeably did feel that you had much less shoe on, and you did wonder whether you'd actually be able to last the pace. If you actually look at some of the heart rates here, obviously I was fairly warmed up by the time I started the 400s, but you're always going to get a bit of heart rate drift. And I think the averages here were pretty much similar. And I think the fact you maybe just a couple of beats higher in the second set when I was like a bit more tired, it's totally understandable. And I think the Streakfly 2 was marginally the quicker average by half a second. I think I averaged 83 in the Streakfly 2, 83.0 that is, and 83.5 in the Fast-Rs. So I wasn't really intending to get these the same, but it was really just a solid effort on each one, thinking that my fitness should hopefully be similar in each. And I think it largely was. The 11th and 12th, I did noticeably try harder there, so I don't think you can read too much into the fact that I was just wearing the Fast-R 3s in those two faster ones, and I messed up the timing a bit, so I had to do some estimated times. But yeah, that didn't really feel like I was going pretty much flat out. There wasn't much left at the end after those two. But yeah, so I think I would say that all in all the times were very similar, that I just felt like I was a bit more confident in the Fast-R 3, but certainly the Streakfly 2 is a very fast shoe. I still think a bit element of safety going into the Fast-R 3 for our next 5k, but I will be keen to try the Streakfly 2 in the 5k as well. I know John Broom has used them to good effect as well, but he's very much used to flats, and I think perhaps even more used to flats than I ever was. Last time I wore flats in a race was probably around about 2017, I think, something like that, which seems a while ago now. I did notice that the cadence in the Streakfly 2, maybe I was just a bit tired, was just slightly higher there, wasn't it? And then, but when I got into the Fast-R 3 going faster, then that was the highest cadence of the lot. Although they're 193 here, the fastest rep of the 10, which equates to sort of being sort of like the same sort of effort, was in the Streakfly 2, but I had a big rest, and when I changed shoes, it was a minute rest after each of the reps and the 5 minutes to change shoes, basically. Ground contact time balance. Some people were worried about my balance there. I think it is more even today. Maybe the faster you go, the more even you are. One stride length one there was a bit odd, and I think that's just a false reading, but they're all about the 150 to 155 mark, aren't they? Something like that. Vertical oscillation, yeah, a bit higher in the Fast-R 3, which you would expect. There's a bit more sponge underneath those, isn't it? But then when I got really fast, you can see that dropped down as well, as did my ground contact time balance when I was going fast as well. So yeah, I think the moral there is that the faster you go, the lower your VO is, and the lower your ground contact time is as well. So all a good test. I think the Fast-R 3 marginal winner for me in terms of like, I feel like I just got more comfortable in it in terms of like a fast shoe, no pun intended. But the Streakfly 2, very, very good shoe, and certainly a lot cheaper, isn't it? And such light shoe as well, ideal for those miles as it were.
And yeah, I think I will take it into a 5K, but maybe not in the next one. I'll give the Fast-R 3 a go. Really keen to see if I can get anywhere 19 minutes in my next one. Okay, which of these two shoes have you got? Do you think the Fast-R 3 is really the fastest shoe out at the moment, or are you finding the Streakfly 2 equally as fast, but just a bit more cautious perhaps with it? Okay, so I hope you found this interesting. Like and subscribe and all that, and see you next one then. Bye!